Where's your emergency?
Hi, I've just come across an accident at the Southern Trust Event Centre in Timaru,
Timaru, what road is that on?
Morgan's Road.
Morgan's Road. Okay, do you have the nearest crossroad intersection to where you're on Morgan's Road?
It crosses with Allbell Street, will be the entrance to the stadium.
Allbell Street. Perfect, right. And what's happening there?
There looks to be a car that's crashed into a block.
Is there any sign of smoke? Into a block, what do you say?
It's just a big concrete block.
Right, yeah. And how many people are in the car?
I think it's two.
Yeah, it's just all cafes.
Do you know if they've got any injuries?
Yes, it looks like they have.
Okay, do you know how bad they are?
Looks pretty bad to me.
Pretty bad? Okay, right. Yeah, we'll get the fire brigade as well as police and ambulance on the way there now, okay?
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your call.
Thanks.
Timaru 801, Washdyke 817. Single car MVC, car versus concrete block. Outside the Southern Trust Event Centre, 70 figures 70 Morgan's Road, on the intersection with Allbell Street, Glenwood. Timaru 801, Washdyke 817. Single car MVC, car versus concrete block. Outside the Southern Trust Event Centre, 70 figures 70 Morgan's Road, on the intersection with Allbell Street, Glenwood.
Hi there, I'm Campbell Main, Station Officer at Washdyke Fire Station. So when we're responding to a MVC, motor vehicle collision, right from the word go, we're thinking, what gear do I need to put on? Where are we going? What weather is it? Who have I got in the truck with me that's going to be able to deal with this incident that we're going to? On the way to the motor vehicle collision, we're looking at the weather, we're looking at the traffic, the area that we're going to. Is this a high-speed collision or a low-speed? All these factors come into how we're going to be able to deal with the situation, how we're going to help the people out once we get there.
Washdyke 817. Further information, single car MVC. Teenage occupants in vehicle. Believed to be two patients. Ambulance and police responding also. Over.
Constable Kiha Rigby. I'm the Community Constable here in Timaru. So the information comes from our police communications to us, goes through the radio, they call up units, and from there, depending on what the situation is, depends how we respond, and if it's quite urgent, if there's been a vehicle crash and it's quite urgent, there's people injured parties involved, then we need to get there in a hurry just to make sure that people are okay, and if we need to just like sort people out for injuries, then we can get ambulance rolling.
Comms calling Timaru Station, Timaru 073. A red response from Morgan's Road, Timaru, code 20.
My name's Dan. I'm an intensive care paramedic based in South Canterbury.
The job's dispatched based on what resources are required. So typically always an ambulance, and I'll get dispatched if they need a critical care unit, similar to a helicopter type response.
So when we pull up to the area, we want to make sure that it's a safe space that we pull up to, creating a safe space for us to work in, but also for the people that are involved as well.
As a rescue appliance, the very first consideration I have is the safety of my own crew. We're on an open roadway, and so my first consideration is actually to view the scene and then block off the road for the safety of my own firefighters so that we can deal with the incident without putting ourselves in further harm. After that, it's about positioning our truck and our gear that we can best help the people out. I get there and I do a 360 of the full scene while my team sets up all the gear that we may or may not have to use for whatever's coming up next. After I've got a full picture of the scene and I kind of know what I'm dealing with and I've talked to witnesses and had a look myself, then we can set about tasking.
The critical care unit offers the next level of care. So we can do some quite invasive procedures. We can sedate people. We can decompress tension in chests. We can put tubes in people's throats and breathe for them. Paramedics were empowered to make that call based on the patient's clinical condition. And it's a reasonably fine line between people being very, very unwell, which we can work on a little bit, and unfortunately being deceased.
Changes can be quite abrupt from a rescue where there's a lot of urgency. There's sometimes a lot of, we don't care how you get them out, but you need to get them out now. So there's a lot of moving parts all at once. Once it becomes a recovery, everything stops and slows down. Now it's about more respect for the victim.
Hi, my name's Justin Huddaker and I'm one of the operation managers for Hilton Haulage.
Hi, I'm Russell Day, but everyone knows me as Krusty. I'm one of our crane operators for Hilton Haulage.
Yeah, so when there's a severe incident or a fatality out on the roads, unfortunately we get a call from either FENS or the police, and that comes through to, normally will come through to a guy called Jim Anderson, who's a very big part of the roadside recovery. He'll come through to us, and from there we dispatch or mobilise a team to go and recover and open the road as quickly as possible. Sometimes that could be just putting the trucks or the cars onto some transporters or recovery vehicles. Sometimes it can be unfortunately having to pick up a car in the scene, preserving it with the bodies in it and taking it away to a forensic site for the police to do their part.
Hi, I'm Julian Donaldson and I'm a funeral director at Betts Funeral Services, where I've been funeral directing for 20 years now. We used to get calls directly from the police, but now it comes from the coroner's office. I'm nervous, apprehensive what you're going to see, and obviously in 20 years I've seen all sorts of accidents. So when I'm going there, it's worst case scenario, someone's passed away. Yeah, so that's our role, is to care for the deceased and transport them to Canterbury Hospital. First initial fear is that, because we live in a small community, is who is it, do I know them?
For myself, my own personal way that I deal with these traumatic events is I talk to my wife. As cheesy as it sounds, she's my best friend. I talk to her about these events, but I never give her the details of the events, because I don't want to also load her up with trauma, but I can share, she helps me share the load of what I do have without affecting her as well. If I need to, beyond that, I see a psychiatrist twice a year, we all do, whether we're in a good headspace or bad, because these events can build and they affect everyone differently.
Definitely, when you do go to a lot of them, I've been to a fair few over the years, and you see different scenes, and some of the scenes can really affect you, especially when you go to fatal scenes and seeing a deceased person there. So you talk to your colleagues, you talk to your family, and you bring it across, and actually speaking about, like, with anything, if you're going through a tough time, just because of the situation you've been in, if you talk to someone about it, you tend to be able to move forward. But if you hang on to it, and you take it home, it's not a good environment for you and your family.
Huge impact on my mental health, and also I go home and think about these things. One of my biggest coping mechanisms would be talking to other people. We have big talks as a team, but also talking to friends and family, which is obviously quite a difficult task sometimes. The brutal realism of this, that if I say to you, I've seen a dead person in a car, there's not many people that go to that regularly.
I think that's a really tough one for all of us. I don't know if that's something you ever cannot take home to some extent. And it makes you super conscious of your own family and holding them tight and making sure they're safe. Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough.
We tend to be able to deal with it a wee bit more than the average person. What we have a background and have had dealt with them before on multiple occasions. We have a good support network amongst ourselves as a small crew here at Hilton's, but we also support each other as a wider family with the FENS, the fireys, the AMBOs and the police. We all look after each other. We do have a coping mechanism that we have on scene sometimes that we refer to as dark humour. Not something that the general public would probably appreciate, but it's a way we can cope with what we're dealing with at the time, because a lot of what we do deal with is relatively horrific, and we do have, if it's too much for us, we actually have counselling that we have available to us through work as well.
Envision every accident I've been to. It's there with you forever.
Give them about half the way back to station to let it sink in, and then I'd ask a simple question of how's everyone doing? And how they react or how they answer me or not answer me will give me a gauge on how they actually felt about that situation.
Yes, I'm Craig Chambers. I work for Fire and Emergency New Zealand as a Community Risk Manager. Time as a volunteer, I remember an incident that we went to. There was quite a few injuries and different people that were injured, adults and children. So children being 13 years old. I always remember. So I was an officer of the second truck when we got there. It's hard because I'm looking out for our people that are doing the work, but when our people are working on somebody that's lying, a young lady that's lying on the ground, and that young lady can't speak because she's being worked on, but her eyes are still working, and the questioning in her eyes and the fear in her eyes is something that, So I don't know, processing it, it is what it is at the moment. Maybe that will come back and haunt me one day. From that day on, you would never look at a person's face after that while we were working on them.
My message to you would be, you got loved people in your life, and speaking from experience as a dad myself, if you need someone to pick you up, that loved person, just give them a call. It doesn't matter if it's 2 or 3 in the morning, they will pick you up. 100%. They would rather pick you up and get that phone call than the phone call from us or the police.
We want people to make a plan for how they're going to get home safely, especially if there's alcohol involved. And if you're the sober driver, please stay the sober driver. We don't want it to be like, oh, I'll just have one, and then that can morph into more. So if you dedicate to being the sober driver, stick to it and do it, and then have a plan. I'm a parent. I've got 2 teenagers at home, and I would far rather they called me at any time of the morning to go and pick them up, so I know that they're home safely, rather than taking their chances with someone that's been driving or getting in the car after drinking themselves.
Think before you get behind the wheel. It takes take that moment to think about what you're doing, and if you're not safe to drive because it's alcohol or drugs or emotions, or you're tired, then don't. There's always other options.
Kia ora koutou. Look, a message from the Mayor on road safety. Hey, it's a real privilege to be driving a vehicle. It gives us all the freedoms that we want, but it can come with some massive consequences when we make and if we make the wrong decisions. It's so important that we focus on other people on the road, people in our car, make sure that we get them home safely. It's important that you make the right decisions in and around getting in a car with a drunk driver. Please just don't do it. It'll be a decision that you never regret.
Hi, I'm Susie Radahi, the Land Transport Manager at Timaru District Council. It's a big old district. Most people just think about Timaru as Timaru Township, but there's actually over 1,700 kilometres of road, including rural roads that we have to look after. So we actually need all of you to take your part in keeping yourself safe. So what does that mean? It means being distraction free, put your phones away, get your seatbelts on, because in a crash they will help you survive. Safe cars, what's the safety rating of your car? It's a limit, it's not a target, so you can slow down and drive to the conditions.
Hi there, I'm Nigel Davenport, Venture Timaru Chief Executive. We're the Economic Development and Tourism Agency for the district. It's all about distractions really. We've got enough distractions in our life, so when you get behind the wheel, minimise those, make them basically go away. So, you know, the big one's that cell phone, throw it in the back seat or turn it off or put it on mute. Don't eat when you're driving, just concentrate solely on your driving.
Hi everyone, James Mega here, MP for Rangitata. Look, I've just got a road safety message around fatigue. I do a lot of driving on the South Canterbury roads in this role, and sometimes, you know, you push yourself hard at work and you might be a little tired on the road. So make sure you keep an eye on how you're feeling when you're driving, and if it feels like everything's a little bit tired, pull over, take a rest. It's better to get in there late than not at all. Take care of each other on the roads. See you later.
To both students and the wider community, the last thing that I want to do as a truck driver or as a dad, as a partner, is I don't want to have to turn up at a road crash and see you when I've met you in another completely different realm. Just don't.
Yeah, it can be as simple as that, and it could be as simple as just thinking again. So that ad that was on the radio, on the TV, it's actually so critical to just think about that. So before we make any decisions, before we go out passing vehicles, passing trucks, just thinking twice, do I have enough room? You know, is the weather going to be okay? The spray that's coming up from the trucks because it's raining, all of that side of things, just thinking, am I confident enough to do it? You know, we just want people to be thinking so they can hopefully make that correct decision and avoid these situations.
I personally think a lot of us always believe we're bulletproof on the road, but it does take everyone to take their part to minimise the risk.
I'd say think before you drink is probably a good one. I'm a country kid, come from farms, grew up on them, and all my mates are country kids, and I know how bad the drink driving side of it was. So for me growing up, that was probably the biggest risk I saw. And 28 now, and by the time I was 21, I'd had 5 mates die in drink driving accidents. So that was my biggest thing. I've always tried to steer clear of it and know that my parents were like, just ring us, we'll pick you up, or stay and have with a mate. So think before you drink is probably the biggest one for me.